Honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliamentary Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic, and endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, roll call. We'll have to take a roll call of members present, and therefore I call on the clerk at table to call out your names, and you know, according to our standing orders, you have to respond. So, clerk, you may do so now.
Apaka Samuel Erickson, Abanga Abdullahi, Abdullahi Jacob Idris, Abdul Latif Dan, Abdul Salam Adams, Ablakwa Samuel Okujeto, Abuaji George Kwame, Abuaji Kwejo Nyampong, Abudulai Bazurewa, Achampon Brian, Achampon Charles, Achampon Richard, Akwaku Sofa Karen Edem, Akwa Alexander Kwesi, Adam Hamza, Adam Mohammed Amin, Adams Kofi Idi, Adi Teddy Safori, Adoya Frimpong, Adum Frederick Obeng, Ejei Kwesi Boateng, Adumako Mensa Alex, Adumako Mensa Collins, Adongo Isaac, Edu Johnson Kweku, Edu Chumiao Osei, Afenyo Mark and Alexander Kwamina, Afol Eric, Efrifa Mensa Kwesi Owusu, Efriye Nana Yu, Efiye Kwaku, Agalga James, Agbefe Charles, Agboja Kwame Govins, Ejepon Ken Ohene, Ejari Alexander, Ejekum Emmanuel Kwejo, Ajima Menu Kweku, Ajima Rolling Zaneto, Ejeni Mbwati Nkweku, Ahinkwa Kingsley Carlos, Ahinkwa Frederick Yao, Ahi Samson, Ahiafo Bernard, Eju William Oreku, Akando Kwabna Minta, Akanvari Balidia Lamisi, Achiasa Molata, Alauzuga Albert Akuka, Al-Hassan Abdallah Idi, Al-Hassan Bashir F. Husseini, Al-Hassan Lydia Seyram, Al-Hassan Saibu Suini, Aliu Mahama Umar Farouk, Aloute Angelo Foriwa, Amankwa Nicholas, Amankwa Menu Kofi, Ameu John Peter, Amia Tremi Kwesi, Amwa Oseibonsu, Amwa Stephen, Amwaku Andre Siama, Amwaku Atakwesi, Ampem Thomas Nyako, Ampo Fuchumesi Kwame, Amprechum Sapon Kweku, Anshre Emmanuel Ejay, Enim Ernest Yao, Enim Moses, Anodon Pre Frank, Entry Eugene Boache, Animedu Entry Kwame, Apak Clement Abbas, Apeje Patricia, Apiakubi Andy Kwame, Amma Prince Hamidu, Asamoah Vincent Opon, Asante Kwejo, Asante Boatin Kweku, Asensu Boachi Francis, Esiama Isaac Kwame, Esiama Kwabna Mankwa, Esiama Eje Nanama Dokua, Asafa Vincent Eko, Atamils Samuel, Aveji James Kluje, Avoka Kletu Sapu, Ewa Ignatius Bafo, Awuni Theresa Ladi, Ayamba Ladi Ayi, Ayariga Mahama, Ayiku Benjamin Nate, Ayine Dominic Akwitinga, Befi Michael Otre, Baba Benson Tongo, Baligi Bright Bach Yaville, Bandim Azuma Abednego, Bano Patrick, Batel Sheila, Bawa Edward Abambre, Bedra Emmanuel Kwesi, Bettino Joseph, Blankson Alex, Boachi Henry Yadom, Boachi Yadom Patrick, Boama Patrick Yao, Boating Akwesi Dako, Boating Amapoma, Boating Joseph Apia, Boating Kwabena, Bobie Evans Opoku, Botre Daniel, Brahima Muhammad Bawa, Boa Emmanuel Amakofi, Bukari Joseph Nipe, Chinyami Dushaku, Tradia Samson Tangumbu, Chiwete Andrew Dari, Kwenso Labeku, Kujo Comfort Doyo, Kujo Joseph, Kujo Robert Wisdom, Dafiama Paul Roxon Nelson Eche Kwame, Dalu Thomas Ada, Dapila Kletu Seidu, Dakon Daniel Lohine, Dako Mensa Kwabnotre, Dauda Collins, Dawuni Abukari, Derry Ambrose, Jonobwa Alex Tete, Donko Elvis Morris, Donko Kwabna, Duka George Mreku, Eya Nana, Fojo John Intim, Forsen Castle Ato Ba, Frimpong Joseph, Gatwe Kwame Jujoli, George Samuel Nate, Ganza Al Hassan Kobna, Gate Joe, Gidiso Wisdom, Gomado Yao, Gomashi Ablajifa, Jemfi Emmanuel Akwesi, Jan Alexander, Jan Mensa Richard, Hamon Kobnata Hill, Hansen Norte Yves, Haruna Seidu, Hayford Ophelia Mensa, Otto de Alexander Roosevelt, Ibrahim Ahmed, Ibrahim Mutala Muhammad, Ibrahim Azura Mohammed, Idrisu Habib, Idrisu Haruna, Isifu Seidu, Jabbar John Benham, Jaja Yusuf Isaka, Jalula Stephen Pambin, Joshua Godfred Seidu, Jinapo John Abdullahi, Jinapo Samuel Abdullahi, Kini Jeffrey, Kisi Dixon Adomako, Kunedu Akwesi, Kumsin Mavis Hawa, Kosa Martin Kwekwe J. Mensah, Podo Benjamin Komla, Kum Ebenezer Kojo, Kuma Joseph Kwame, Kuyon Solomon, Kwachiaka Peter Yao, Kwatin Kwekwajiman, Kofi Festus Sewa, Chey Mensa Bonsu Osei, Tremi Nelson, Labi Oscar Ofori, Lati Agnes Namomo, Liwal Oscar, Mahama Asiesieni, Mahama Nasir Ture, Menu Adabo Francis, Mafu Emmanuel, Mafu Kofia Henkwa, Mbomba Thomas, Mensa Bettina Nefa Crosby, Mensa Francisca Otain, Mensa Isaac J, Mensa Joseph Kwesi, Mensa Tina Gifty Nayele, Mensa Andrew Kofi Japa, Morrison Cynthia Mamle, Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak, Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba, Nanja Sanja, Napari Dominic, Nawani Mark Kurt, Newman Dakwang, Nitiwu Dominic Benga Maduna, Inkansambwedu Mavis, Nokoi Kofi Ako, Nogbe Henry Ernest, Notuko Toe Peter Kwesi, Intim Adelaide, Intim Augustine Collins, Intosu Helen Ajua, Nyakote Albert Tete, Nyako Bismarck Tete, Nyako Kingsley, Nyako Kwamina Minta, Obintechi George Kwabena, Obimboatin Alfred, Oklulindo Hinewa Akwele, Odampton Isaac Ashia, Ofoso Jerry Elizabeth, Okofu Data Williams, Autry Ejekum Kofi, Opoku Davis Ansa, Opoku Eric, Opoku Isaac Yao, Opon Kroma Kojo, Osei John Frimpong, Osei Kennedy Nyako, Osei Asari Abna, Osei Wusu Joseph, Oti John Kwabna Blaise, Otute Christian Quality, Owusu Bio Benito, Owusu Ekuful Esla, Peito Desmond de Graft, Pelpo Rashid Abdul Hassan, Prempe Frida Kosia, Prempe Matthew Opoku, Kwate Henry, Kwei St. James Jechi, Ramadan Mohammed Adamu, Ricketts Hagan George Kweku, Safo Sarah Ajua, Sandari Sabasha Meneso, Sani Suleiman Adamu, Sani John Kobna Abamabua, Soya Queen Mami Pokua, Sefer Richard Kwame, Setra Benjamin Yabua, Sosu Francis Xavier Kojo, Sowa Dela Ajua, Sowa Rita Nao Dole, Suparu Adams Mohammed, Suleimana Adama, Suleiman Al Hassan Tampuli, Suleimana Yusuf, Suma Anthony Mbukara, Tahidu Abdul Razak, Teria Augustine, Telabi Ebenezer Klite, Tete Joycelyn, Tete Sylvester, Tete Agbosri Gisela, Tete Joseph Akwete, Tofi Dokas, Tobu Peter Lanchini, Tuferi Mohammed Hadi, Chum Ampofu Gifty, Chum Berima Paula Preku, Yusuf Mustafa, Vandapoy Alfred Oko, Vandapoy Edwin Nilante, Bondi David, Wakpal Daniel Insala, Reku Brobe Bright, Woyome Kobna Mensah, Zidin Bid and Watazumo.
Honorable members, I will be varying the order of business for the day by recognizing the presence of some visitors in the House. More importantly, our students and pupils from some educational institutions visiting the House. We have at the public gallery pupils from the Nkonya Ahenkro Roman Catholic Basic School. There are 39 in number, and the school is located at Biakoye constituency. They are led by one of their teachers, in the person of Helen Aneka. Honorable members, you kindly recognize their presence in the House. Yes. Please, you may sit down. We also have pupils from the Jassy Senior High School, 22 in number, coming from Asen North constituency. Led by one of their teachers, the person of Frank Boache Yadom. Please kindly recognize their presence. You may resume your seats. We also have students from the Accra Technical University. There are 40 in number. Accra Technical University is located in the Korle Klote constituency, and they are led by one of their students, the person of Siba Mariam. Honorable members, there are 40 of them. Kindly recognize their presence. Yes, you may sit down now. On behalf of the House and on my part, I want to wish the visitors a very enjoyable and fruitful visit and deliberations. And I hope the team we put in place to take them around, led by the Public Engagement Department, will take them through the full process of then learning what we do here why we do what we do, and the ultimate result of what we do here. This process is all meant to build up future leaders, future parliamentarians, future politicians, people who are conscious of governance and will make inputs into what happens in the country. And so it's always a pleasure to have all of you here. And I want to take this opportunity to encourage you to keep on coming. One day is not enough. Today in particular, you can see the House is not well populated because members are also in their constituencies now assisting the Electoral Commission to go through the voter transfer and proxy voting process. And today is also a Friday where there are some commitments. And that is what has depopulated the House. But this is not a very good excuse, but at least reasons for you to know why it's part of the duties of MPs to be everywhere. This morning, my good friend, you've not been listening at all. You've been talking since you arrived. I don't want to mention your name because you are a very good friend of mine. So please, pay attention. You have visitors watching you. So please, kindly convey this message to your colleagues and encourage them to come. Because sometimes people misread what happens on the floor and we're not getting the cooperation that we wanted. Yes, with this, we move on to item 5, correction of votes and proceedings and official reports. We'll start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Thursday, 13th June 2024. Page 1. Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21, yes, page 21.
Speaker, may I seek your leave to take you back to page 13? There were 3 meetings held by the Subsidiary Legislative Committee. I was present for the 15th and the 16th of May meetings, but I'm marked as not present for the 15th one. So if the table office could take note of that. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, humbly, the Subsidiary Legislation Committee held 3 meetings, 14th, 15th, and 16th of May. I was present for the 15th of May and the 16th of May meetings. But for the 15th, there's no indication that I was present, even though I was there and participated. So I want the table office to take note of that. Thank you very much.
Honourable Member, are you talking about the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 13th June?
That is so. 13th June.
And you are referring to page what?
Mr. Speaker, page 13.
13.
13. That is so, Mr. Speaker. The meeting convened by the Subsidiary Legislative Committee.
Yes.
I was present for the 15th and the 16th deliberations. But the record showed that I'm marked for being present only for the 16th.
Okay. Okay.
13.
Table office kindly take note of his concern. I just cross-checked and what he's saying is true. So please check from the records of the committee and capture the correct information. Honourable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the third sitting dated Thursday, 13th June 2024 are adopted as a true record of proceedings. I have 3 copies of the official report of Tuesday, 20th February 2024, Wednesday, 21st February 2024, and Thursday, 22nd February 2024. Any corrections? Honourable members, in the absence of any corrections, the official reports of those 3 days are adopted as the true records of proceedings. We move on to item 6, and that is business statement for the second week. Chairman, Business Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Business Committee met yesterday to plan the business for the ensuing week ending 21st of June 2024. Mr. Speaker, the draft of the program for the ensuing week has been attached to our report. Mr. Speaker, per our proposal for consideration by this august House, we shall follow the order as stated in our rules book, where formal communication may be read by Mr. Speaker. And then the next main item, which is questions. So, Speaker, we agreed on a total of 33 questions to be answered in the ensuing week, 10 by the Minister for Communication and Digitalization, 11 by the Minister of Energy, and 12 by the Minister for Roads and Highways. Of these, 3 are urgent questions. Mr. Speaker, may also admit statements from members in accordance with Order 91(2) and Order 93 of our rules book. And Mr. Speaker, we expect that in the ensuing week, the Free SHS Bill will be presented to the House for first reading by the Minister of Education. The Speaker may admit motions and debate and consequential resolutions be carried if any is taken during the week. Mr. Speaker, we also indicated at the meeting that there are several referrals to various committees, and we would encourage committee leaders to provide the necessary guidance to their committees so that reports are brought for the House to consider. So we can now turn to the annexure. It's an 8-page document. I would encourage colleagues to look at how we programmed each day's activity, especially those who have questions, so that they make it a point to be present in the chamber to ask their questions. So, Speaker, we want to assure colleagues that we would engage the various ministers and ensure that they attend upon the House to answer the necessary questions. The Speaker, without more, I pray that this report be adopted in accordance with the rules of this House. I thank you, sir.
Honorable members, the Business Committee, through their chairman, has presented the report of business for the next week. It's for your consideration. Yes, now when you are together like this, who is senior? I should go by age. Yes. Honorable Kodo.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for giving me those compliments. I think during the consideration of the formula for the Common Fund for 2024, the chairman of the Committee of the Whole, who is the first Deputy Speaker, gave a directive that there should be a reconciliation between the Ministry of Finance and the respective committees, finance and local government, to ascertain whether the ministry is implementing the ruling of the Supreme Court or not. This has not been done since then. and nobody appears to be talking about it. But I remember earlier in the week that you said there will be meetings of the committee of the whole. And I think that issue should be scheduled for that committee, in which case something must happen before the committee meets. But there is no mention of it in the business statement. That's why I want to draw the attention of the majority leader, my venerable son, to give attention to this matter, because it is very important. We have been joking with it for a very long time. The First Deputy Speaker will attest to this matter. I thank you.
Yes, Honorable Agalga.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, my area of interest is on item 2C, motions and resolutions. Right, Honorable Speaker, I recall that some time ago you had very harsh words for leadership of committees for failing to present reports of committees for consideration by...
Did I hear you right? I, as Speaker, had very harsh words for leadership of committees. I don't recall.
Well, maybe, Mr. Speaker, I should substitute harsh with admonish or words of caution.
Yes, amended accordingly.
Very grateful, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, acting by your caution, some of your committees actually took steps to finalize quite a number of reports. And here I'm talking about the special committee that investigated the leaked audio involving the Inspector General of Police. Mr. Speaker, that report is ready. Before we went on recess, it was one of the papers to be presented for the consideration of the House. The public interest character of that report, I want to use this medium to appeal to you to direct the Business Committee to list as a matter of urgent importance that for us to deal with as a matter of urgency starting from Tuesday. Because this thing has been on the eye, that has given room for all manner of speculations about the leakages here and there. So, Mr. Speaker, it's high time we brought the matter to closure. Aside that, Mr. Speaker, other similar reports, such as the alleged military brutalities against the people of Ashaman by the military, is also outstanding. That one has already been laid and is to be taken. So, Mr. Speaker, there is yet another one, the Botiano report, which is also ready for laying. So, Mr. Speaker, I would pray you to make the necessary interventions to allow us to take those reports. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ablakwa.
I'm most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I commend the Chairman of the Business Committee for the presentation of the business statement. To begin with, Mr. Speaker, there are a number of matters that came up when you addressed us at the beginning of this meeting, and both leaders also referred to the same matter. And it relates to the indication you gave us that there is likely to be a reconfiguration of the committees, and also in line with the new standing orders, we need to also populate some new committees that the new standing orders have created. But conspicuously missing in the business for next week is that matter, because you gave indication that it will be very soon. I want to find out if that indication is still something to go by, so that we can all be preparing ourselves for those changes, and if there are any timelines for the reconstitution and reconfiguration of the committees of the House. Then, Mr. Speaker, the second item relates to the media review. We know that that is a major highlight for this meeting. I want to find out from the chair of the Business Committee if there is any indication when the Honorable Finance Minister is expected to appear before us, so that we can start preparing accordingly. Then, Mr. Speaker, along the same lines of the Honorable Agaga's concerns, I also have a number of very key motions that this House has agreed that we need to work on. Indeed, there are a number of them that went through the motions. You admitted them, we debated them, and it just got to the point of constituting the committees. And Mr. Speaker, I'm referring to two very important issues of national concern. The VRA spillage from the Akosombo Dam. You serve notice to this House and the whole country that this House will constitute a committee to inquire into that disaster. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, nothing has happened in that regard. The second issue with outstanding motions is the National Cathedral probe. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about a $450 million project. The whole country is waiting on us. Almost national interest in this matter. Our side submitted names of MPs who are ready to serve on that committee. Our colleagues on the other side have been stalling. And Mr. Speaker, I recall that there have been instances in this House where one-sided committees have worked. For example, after the 2012 elections, when our colleagues on the other side said that they are the Supreme Court, so they will not recognize President Mahama, and for that matter, do any business he brings here. The Appointments Committee met and considered the ministers, and this House approved the ministers and continued to work on matters that came from the President as a one-sided House until the Supreme Court determined the matter, and then our colleagues came back to work with us. It did not stall the work of this House. So, Mr. Speaker, if our colleagues would not submit the names, the committees can go ahead and work. It's been about a year, Mr. Speaker. Will we be waiting ad infinitum till the 8th Parliament comes to an end, and such a matter of enormous public interest, national significance, is not receiving any attention? Mr. Speaker, it doesn't do well for the image of this House. If they will not cooperate, they won't submit the names. Mr. Speaker, we can constitute our committee to still be a committee of the House. After all, boycotts are part of democratic tools. We can take it as a boycott and go ahead and carry out this inquiry. $58 million has been spent, and all we see, Mr. Speaker, is a pit. We must know where our money has gone to. Who is keeping the money? We have this unenviable as hosting the most expensive pit in the world. And then the legislative arm of government does not appear to be interested in inquiring into this matter. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that your patience really has been abused, and it is time to crack the whip. The Ghanaian people are not going to allow this deliberate stonewalling from our colleagues on the other side to continue. Finally, Mr. Speaker, there is a matter that I was hit with this morning on national television, and I'm sure the Honourable Majority Leader will be concerned because it's a matter that happened in his constituency. The Winneba Government Hospital, it has been reported that doctors and nurses there just threw out a patient who had an accident. They couldn't locate the patient's relations. The patient says she comes from somewhere, Oboji or something of that nature, a UTV report. And then they just put her in the ambulance, went to dump her in the bush. After 3 days, Mr. Speaker, the patient died. This is a woman who lost her legs in an accident, a 44-year-old woman, traumatized. I mean, this is the height of inhumanity. And Mr. Speaker, this House must take interest. We have to summon the Minister for Health, the Ghana Health Service, the board and management of the Winneba Government Hospital. We cannot accept this. So, Mr. Speaker, this happened in the majority leader's constituency. He has to join us so we constitute an urgent probe into this matter. This negligence, this abuse of the 1992 Constitution, gross violation of the Hippocratic Oath of our doctors cannot be accepted. There is national outrage, and as a House, we have to be concerned and we must take immediate action. It can happen to any of us. We can have an accident anywhere. It can happen to any of our relatives. And, Mr. Speaker, we cannot accept this gross negligence. So this House, Mr. Speaker, must take an interest in this matter urgently so that we can be responsive to the plight of the people we represent in this House. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Adjournment. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I am, Mr. Speaker, I want to make reference to the business statement ably read by the Majority Leader, and I want to refer to page 2 of the report. Item number 4, referrals to committees. The Speaker, it states that there are currently 8 public bills and 4 private members' bills before a number of committees of the House. Mr. Speaker, what I want to ask of the Majority Leader is if we can have details of those bills. That's page 2, because I went through the other pages of the report and there are no details of these bills that have been referred to the number of committees that he made reference to, so that as a House we can all move along with him. If it's, for instance, if it's the affirmative bill, then we know. Because, Mr. Speaker, the only bill that has been mentioned in the report, though it states that there are about 8 of them, I see only the affirmative action and the grains. That is on page 7, Mr. Speaker. It talks about the second reading of bills, and I only can identify Grains Development Authority bill and the budget bill. So I would entreat the Majority Leader if we can have those bills that he claims have been referred to a number of committees so we can move along with him. Thank you. 8 public bills and 4 private members' bills. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Dafiamapo.
Speaker, thank you very much. Speaker, let me anchor my first issue on Order 59, Sub 1, 2, 3 of our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, in the course of presenting the business statement for next week this morning, I heard the Majority Leader indicate that he expects the free SHS bill to be presented to the House. Mr. Speaker, clearly pursuant to Order 59 Sub 1, there's no indication that such a bill has been gazetted, and copies given to members. Order 159 sub 1. Order 100 rule 1. Yes. Rule 1, 2, 3. Yes. And Mr. Speaker, further, clearly going through the business statement, the only indication where a bill will be presented and clearly stated is contained on page 3 of the report under item number V, after statements and presentation of papers. And the bill to be presented for next week is the National Petroleum Authority Bill 2024. And I'm saying this because yesterday he hinted this house that there's some bill that is called the Free SHS bill. It is not before the house, but the issues were raised about it. Again, he's saying that he expects that the bill will be presented next week. The business statement doesn't say so. So we want to be very clear, like the former Deputy Majority Leader said. Let us be very clear regarding the businesses that will carry in this house next week. So, Mr. Speaker, that is one. Mr. Speaker, two, the Minority Leader on Tuesday, as part of his opening remarks, clearly indicated that there will be a need for the Electoral Commission to be invited to brief the House regarding some activities and its work. Mr. Speaker, and of course, Mr. Speaker, being in the chair indicated that there will be the need for the Electoral Commission to come brief the House. Mr. Speaker, today ends the transfer of votes and replacement of cards and all that. There's been a supplementary statement from the Electoral Commission indicating that sometime in August, some mop-up will be undertaken for 3 days. That is also curious because normally, ordinarily, the mop-up follows the major event. Immediately, then they do the mop-up. But the mop-up has been given about 6 weeks interval. Mr. Speaker, there's no indication that next week the Electoral Commission and her staff will be invited to brief the House. It's such a major concern for us, Mr. Speaker, because of the peculiar nature of the interrelatedness of how our work is in the various constituencies. So, Mr. Speaker, we want to urge the Majority Leader to find space for this business to be carried early next week, sometime even before Wednesday, so that the Electoral Commissioner and her staff, key staff or other commissioners will come and brief us, so that we'll know how many persons were registered during the limited registration, for instance, how many transfers have been undertaken. Those statistics we want to know to guide our work in the various constituencies. Mr. Speaker, these are my concerns regarding the business statements presented. I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable members, I suspend sitting for 5 minutes to attend call.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, thanks so much for your indulgence. We'll continue with the consideration of the report of the Business Committee. Yes, Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, we thank the Majority Leader for the presentation of the business statement. Mr. Speaker, a colleague raised an issue regarding a committee of the whole to deal with some issues which you suggested the other day, which is very critical. And another entity which might be, we may want to bring to the committee will be common fund. Simply because, as my colleague said, in the consideration of the formula for the common fund, certain decisions were taken as condition precedent for the approval of those items on that. But since then, it is difficult to find and engage the common fund administrator on these issues. And additionally, Mr. Speaker, it borders on releases to our district assemblies and others. So it will be good if we can settle, if the leader would settle on the particular day that we will have the committee of the whole. Mr. Speaker, a colleague also drew the attention of the leader to the effect that it is not just enough for him to be making public comments about an anticipated free SHS bill. I have in my hand here, in fact, I'm a member of the business committee. We never discussed, he never even brought the issue of, a free SHS bill. So it's not even captured here. And in fact, he ordered an order paper addendum. Even on that, I can see the education minister here. The only thing the education minister is coming to do here is to lay a national service bill 2024. But then the leader said that next week there's a possibility of even debating the first reading, doing the first reading of the bill. He knows that bill needed to be laid, referred to a committee, a report brought to the House. So your fixation, I think you want the free SHS bill so dearly. Bring it to the House and we'll help you deal with it. Otherwise, it appears that you are just saying it in public to achieve an end. Because as we speak, no one has seen a draft bill regarding free SHS. And it is important that as a leader of the House, you should speak from a position of fact. You have not proven that there's any bill in this House called free SHS bill. So we want to draw your attention to that because the business statement you presented today does not have anything regarding a free SHS bill. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the third item, Mr. Speaker, not too long ago, when we were considering the formula for national health insurance, Mr. Speaker, an issue came up. It's a recurrent issue. The amount of money Ghana pays for the provision of ICT for NHIS is more than the budget of many ministries in this country. It is always in hundreds of millions of Ghana cedi. It's as if the whole NHIS ICT infrastructure is replaced every year. Sometimes it's 300 million Ghana cedi. Sometimes it's 200 million Ghana cedi. So we decided that we were going to set up a committee to look specifically into why NHI spends so much money on the provision of ICT. And how can we justify that whilst we make these approvals, these monies are not being wasted? Mr. Speaker, the leader must take this. the person in the chair that day decided that yes, it's a viable proposal. And in fact, it was decided that as a condition precedent, we were going to set up a committee. But from that time, we haven't heard anything about the leader making any effort to set up a committee to look into the budget line consistently. At least since I've been in this house, since 2013, members have had a cause to complain about the size of ICT budget for NHIS. And I think that it should take the opportunity and facilitate the creation of that committee to look into why ICT budget for NHIS is even bigger than the budget of many ministries in our country, and whether we are getting a good value for money regarding this particular item. Mr. Speaker, the last thing I want to say is this. Mr. Speaker, we have started this, we have started work again. Mr. Speaker, you can see we have a lot. You briefed us on how many bills we have in our custody that we need to deal with. The leader should take note that as we sit here, no minister is appearing before the House encouraging any committee to help craft any bill. We will continue this way until it's 2 weeks for us to rise. Then they begin to force us to work deep into the night, as if we had only 2 days for the whole period that Parliament needed to sit. Mr. Speaker, we would be able to help the majority side deal with bills if they present them, but we don't have the ability to compel ministers here. So it is upon him to encourage ministers who have got bills that are already in the House to make themselves available to committees to work on those bills so that they can come to plenary for us to see what we can do with this bill. So, Mr. Speaker, I think the leader should take note of this to deal with even the bills that are here that we are unable to do. He's anticipating new ones that should come in. I would encourage him to pay attention to the bills that are here that are not being dealt with, rather than looking for bills that don't even exist yet and talking about it all over the place. Mr. Speaker, I would also encourage colleagues so that finally we make ourselves available for the ministers who have got questions to answer them. We left out a lot of questions the last time, and they have all been rescheduled. We hope the leader again would encourage ministers who have got questions. As a whip, I regularly get letters from ministers saying they cannot appear before the House at a particular time to respond to questions by members. They keep postponing them. Some of them have done 2-3 times already. This is the time for them to appear before the House and respond to those questions. And the last one, the issues raised by Honorable Okujeto are very important, Mr. Speaker. The amount of money we have spent on the cathedral hall so far can start and complete at least three Agenda 111 hospitals. Yes, I'm saying the amount of money we spent digging the hole for the cathedral can start and complete at least 3 Agenda 111 district hospitals. Yet the hole is there. It is important for the leader of the majority side to facilitate a committee to investigate whether that hole is worth $53 million and whether we should $58 million. And also the issue about the VRA's village. Mr. Speaker, maybe in the future there may be the need to do a controls village. But maybe if we look into this, what happened now, we may be able to advise so that the next village will be more humane or more controlled in such a way that we don't lose property. So, Mr. Speaker, the leader of the majority side have got a lot of things on his plate, and we encourage him to support the House to get these committees set up so that we can look into these things and improve the lot of our people. Mr. Speaker, with these few comments about the business, and I encourage colleagues to approve the business statement for next week. Thank you. Yes.
Well, we'll allow the chair, well, the majority chief whip is up. The chairman will definitely have the opportunity to respond to some of the concerns raised. Yes, please.
Speaker, indeed, I wish to add my voice to what my colleague said on the call on the NHI worry on this ICT worry, at which we came to some conclusion that we have to do some further work. I want to urge the majority leader to do the do so that we can get this thing dispensed of. So it is gratifying to hear that my good friend, who is looking straight into my eyes, now believes in Agenda 111. That is very refreshing. That is indeed very refreshing. But I will urge him to convince his other colleagues that let all of them come on board, that indeed Agenda 111 is practicable. And that Agenda 111 is indeed a critical project that will affect the health infrastructure of this country. In fact, hallelujah. And I thank God that indeed he has come on board. Speaker, on the cathedral matter has been espoused, and I think he's joined in unison with the ranking member for Foreign Affairs. I do not remember to have seen any motion advertised on same subject matter. I don't. So is it the case that you are trying to communicate your wish? And that cannot be, because he is also a member of the business committee. He should rather come properly. Either you are filing a question or you are making your point at the business committee for it to be considered as a relevant matter that should be considered. But for now, I think you are on a frolic of your own. And you cannot talk about cathedral matter. Of course, we are all interested. It's a very important subject matter. But it is not officially before this House. I do not remember. And I will urge the majority leader to be guided accordingly, because it has not been advertised in the order paper. And therefore, we cannot go to investigate something that is not properly before us.
Yes, Chair, Business Committee.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Defemepo raised an issue regarding the free SHS matter and sought to rely on Order 159. The Speaker, I've just seen him back into the chamber and seated. I want to draw his attention to Order 160, 1 and 2 of the rules of this House. For the avoidance of doubts and for emphasis, I shall quote same in extenso. Quote, 161, a sponsor may submit a bill to Parliament without publication in the Gazette, where the sponsor of the bill considers the bill to be of an urgent nature. 2, the Speaker shall refer a bill to the appropriate committee for determination of the urgency or otherwise after the presentation and first reading. End quote. The Speaker, I'm not only the majority leader, but I am also the leader of government business. And if I'm reading the report and I make reference to a matter that we should expect, I think it's within my right to do so. If you read the report, it says papers to be presented, bills to be taken. So when we make that general provision, it is to talk about things that will come. Again, we also refer to statement to be admitted by Mr. Speaker. It does not mean that Mr. Speaker has already admitted. So these are proposals. So I just want you to understand the context under which I make that statement. In any event, I haven't said it anywhere elsewhere. I've said it right here in this chamber, that we should expect the Minister of Education to introduce the free SHS bill. And I don't want an impression to be created by Honorable Defemepo that it is only under Order 159 of the rules of this House that a bill can be introduced. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to my respected colleague, Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa. He referred to an incident in my constituency. Rightly so, it came up in the media yesterday, and I shall refer to a letter by me with reference ML/042, dated 13 June, addressed to the Medical Director, Trauma and Specialist Hospital, Winneba Central Region, Dear Sir, request for full report on patient incident. I write to formally request a report on an incident involving a patient who was admitted at your facility. According to a report from United Television, this patient was under the care of your hospital, but was discharged under distressing circumstances. It has been alleged that the patient was left in the bush in Ojobi and tragically passed away after being exposed to heavy rains. This is disturbing and raises questions about the standards of care and protocols followed by your institution. To better understand the circumstances surrounding this incident, I am requesting a full report on this happening. Please consider this request as priority and respond at your earliest convenience. I count on your cooperation. Yours faithfully, signed by my very good self. Mr. Speaker, further to this, I've become aware of a press release by the Ghana Health Service dated 14 June 2024 to all media houses. Reference: patient allegedly abandoned in a bush at Gomwa, Ojobi. The attention of leadership of the Ghana Health Service has been drawn to a media story about a patient allegedly abandoned in a bush at Gomwa, Ojobi in the Central Region. According to the story, it is alleged that the said patient was on admission at the Trauma and Specialist Hospital in Winneba, and after her relatives had failed to show up, she was conveyed in the hospital's ambulance and left in a wheelchair at Ojobi, where she claimed to be her hometown and was later found dead. The service, upon receiving this disturbing news, has initiated investigations into the matter to establish the authenticity or otherwise of the story in line with existing practices in the public service to enable it to take appropriate action. The service wishes to appeal to the general public to be patient, as anyone found to be connected with this unfortunate incident will be severely dealt with in accordance with provisions of the service's code of conduct. Thank you. End of statement. Signed, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaji, Director General. So, respectfully, I submit that in view of the fact that the institution concerned is taking steps, we may temporarily not have jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction has to do with oversight. If we try to get into such matters, it may appear as though Parliament is trying to ask the jurisdiction of an appropriate institution with a mandate to do this. I'm sure sometimes colleagues being quiet would help. So, Mr. Speaker, I hold a view that Parliament must be seen to be doing its oversight. The institution concerned has a primary mandate. They have indicated that they've instituted an investigation. I hold the humble view that we allow them to do their work, get their report published, the necessary sanctions meted out, and if Parliament would want to do further, we can do that. So, Mr. Speaker, that is my view on that matter. Mr. Speaker, on the National Health Insurance ICT matter raised by the Honorable Governors Kwame Agboja. Mr. Speaker, the day this matter came up, the concerns were ferried to me and I applied to the chair. The position of the chair was to the effect that the matter was not properly before the House, and that if a call is being made for an investigation, we know what to do. So it's not for the majority leader to proceed to act on a matter in a manner that is being described. Let colleagues, use appropriate channel to get this thing done, and we would all support it. Mr. Speaker, my respected colleague, Sarah Adwasafo, I wanted to know about some committees. Mr. Speaker, with respect, please excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the indulgence. Mr. Speaker, we have the Environmental Protection Bill, the Affirmative Action Bill, the Social Protection Bill, and the Grains Development Bill. It's a pleasure that same be made available to her. It shall be made available to colleagues, and then for them to take these matters up. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable James Agalga wanted to know about some reports why they have not been programmed by the business committee. The Speaker, he is a co-chair of the committee. It's right that the business committee can only program an item for consideration when it is seized with the receipt of it. We are not in receipt of that report, and he and his colleagues must do the needful. I don't want this impression to be created that business committee has failed in its work. We have not. You have done your report. If the report is not before the table office and you are having technical issues, it is not for you to smuggle your way through to say that the business committee should program. We don't have the report. The table office has not brought any report for us to deliberate upon. So, unfortunately, he's left the chamber. I would want him to take this up so that they get it to us. Then we can program. Same applies to other reports he referred to, the military brutalities, the Bosciano report. He is a member of the Defense and Interior Committee, so I would urge him to get their work done. If it comes, I'm sure we'll work on it. Mr. Speaker, for the records, I have checked with the table office, and no, Deputy Minority Leader, with the greatest respect, I am told that the Ashama and report is not ready. It's not been sent to the table office. Mr. Speaker, the committee of the whole. Mr. Speaker, on the Ashama report, I've just been advised that that is before us. But if it's before us, it is for, if we programmed it for it's been on the other paper. Well, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the committee leadership would have to ready themselves to take the report. Nothing stops them. I will not stop them from taking their report. Mr. Speaker, the committee of the whole meeting to discuss certain matters. I believe that the whips would have to take this matter up, and then we can quickly deal with it. So, Mr. Speaker, that's about it. Mr. Speaker, without more, I shall thank you for
Just to remind you, Leader, the cathedral, National Cathedral.
Speaker has not called you.
Yes, Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, it appears my respected leader might have forgotten one of the important issues raised by myself and the Honorable Kujetu regarding the cathedral.
Mr. Speaker, I assumed office on the 23rd or so, 23rd February or so. I would want to engage the Honorable Ablakwa on this matter so that
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please.
The issue about the National Cathedral is such that it was a private member's motion that was debated in the House. All we were left with was to set up the committee. So if the leader wanted to understand where we left it, the fact is that it has actually appeared on the floor. What we need to do now is to set up a committee to look into it. And I know that he's interested in the Agenda 111 hospitals completed. So when I give you an indication that the money we spent so far digging the hole could start and complete 3 Agenda 111 hospitals, I know he's concerned, and you will support us to see what we can do to make sure that we give value, we determine value for money on that project. So if he can give us an idea whether he's going to support his side to select members who will be on the committee. We already have members who will be on the committee on our side. All we want to do is to get members from his side, then we can set up the committee.
Just that's what we want to hear from you.
Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, I think we are basically saying the same thing, except that, and maybe you should listen. Speaker, I pay attention to businesses on this order paper, and I'm saying, to the extent that I don't recollect, I check my records. I don't see anything. Probably the table office is an independent, they will be able to tell if indeed there was a motion that was debated and a decision was arrived at. Speaker, we can't take a decision. Don't gag the majority leader. And I have a responsibility to give him information. I have given him the due information. This matters. As far as our records are concerned, we don't recollect. So let the table office, yes, but they prove it. Speaker, if they recollect, let them prove it. Or the table office should give us better particulars. On the spur of the moment, you can say that we should take a decision now. Allow the leader to go back, check the records, and he has also told you, the leader has told you that he just took the reins of leadership, and he's prepared to work with you closely to resolve this matter. I don't think we need to split hairs over this. So yeah, I think this is what should be the conclusion.
Well, Honorable Ablakwa, after that, I'll make a few comments, then we'll go on.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since the Majority Chief Whip says that he doesn't recall, I want to be magnanimous and generous by reminding him that it was during the consideration of the 2024 budget in December of 2023 that this House debated a duly admitted private member's motion, duly admitted by the Right Honourable Speaker. We had a unanimous approval by the House that this was an important matter and that this House should inquire into the matter. the Speaker asked for both sides to present the membership of the Committee of Inquiry. We were going to have an ad hoc committee, a special committee for that purpose. We submitted our names. Your side asked for some time to do further consultations. And Mr. Speaker, we have been waiting since. So I hope that you do recall now that this is what transpired. And we really have to take action on this matter. We cannot continue to be waiting. One breath you don't recall, another breath you want to engage me. Sometimes you say you want to go and refer to handover notes. I mean, this is a house of records. I don't know what the majority is afraid of. You were not the contractors. You didn't disburse the funds. You didn't dig the pit. So who are you protecting? What are you afraid of? Let us just go into the matters, Mr. Speaker, and protect the public purse. $58 million, Mr. Speaker, that's a lot of money. If Right Honourable Speaker got that, he will have put up offices for us in our constituencies. Yeah. You know how passionate the Speaker is on ensuring that MPs are able to work. 3 Agenda 111 hospitals can be constructed. $58.1 million. It's no chicken feed, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we respectfully will count on your guidance. Clearly, our colleagues don't want to join progressive forces in this country to seek accountability and to protect the public purse. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable members, what I can say is that kindly take time to go through the standing orders of the House. It's quite detailed, and many of these procedures are handled in the standing orders. You get to know we have 2 types of business, the public and private. And mostly public business come through government. Private business come through members and the institution of parliament itself. Some could be public, but through the institution of parliament. And those are all to be admitted by the Speaker. It's when they are admitted and referred to the office of the clerk that they are sent to the business committee to program. Once they are programmed and they are before the House, until completed, they are to be repeated day in and day out on the order paper. And so if the matter had already been put on the order paper and not dealt with by outstanding orders, the clerks at table are to repeat it until the end of the term, where by practice and convention, all business terminate, because that is the end of that parliament. And the new parliament will have to come and the business will have to be relayed, which usually is 4 years. And so most of these things we are talking about are being handled accordingly. Maybe the table office might have overlooked some of these issues, and some of these motions have not been repeated on the order paper. They should be. The issue of non-attendance of ministers is key, and I think the majority leader should take it up. We don't want to wait until the end of the meeting where this House will once again be inundated with so much business that we will not be able to do a good job on the business. The majority leader actually is not the sponsor of the bills. The sponsors usually are people with delegated authority from the executive president. Because, you know, our government in Ghana is the president. That's the constitution. The president constitutes the government. The ministers are just advisors. And therefore, the president is to delegate the authority to the minister to come to present business before the House. And that's where the sponsorship comes from, not the majority leader, unless and until he could produce evidence that he's also been delegated to do so. And so what you refer to, the bill you're talking about, will not be sponsored by the majority leader. It will be sponsored by the appropriate authority. I think the issue of the national health insurance has come up a number of times. I think that is a serious concern that we should take up, because the amounts that are allocated for ICT in the formula of the national health insurance is of grave concern. It's quite a huge and colossal amount that members should delve into and try to unearth what has happened in the past, how that monies have been utilized, and why the need for such a huge amount. I think we should take it up and go with it. The committee of the whole definitely will come on, and I want to encourage the majority leader to do so. By outstanding orders, he can even submit a supplementary report during the course of the week. So there is no problem at all. It can come on. It's a matter that we have to discuss with the various authorities, the Electoral Commission, the District Assembly Common Fund, and the rest. They should come up at the committee of the whole meeting. Yes, mid-year review is tabled, and one of the things that the clerk is, by outstanding orders, directed to do is to, at the beginning of each meeting, submit to each member of parliament the agenda of the meeting. And if you take the agenda of the meeting, you see all these items, whether they are bills or instruments or motions or papers, they are all itemized there. And because of delays in getting this from the ministries, it's not been possible for this item or this rule to be complied with meticulously. And I think that the clerk should continue to put pressure on the various sector ministers to submit the businesses so that we can capture them in the agenda. The request of Honorable Adjoa Safo will find expression in that agenda. There's a detailed report on the bills, the instruments, the motions, the papers. It's all there. Those that are before the House, those that are before committees, the stages they've reached, whether it's first reading or second reading or third reading, they are all captured in the agenda, and copies should be made available to members. The VRA spillage is a very serious matter, and I did make consultations in trying to set up the committee. I'm yet to get feedback from stakeholders. As at today, I keep on referring to it from time to time. There's a need for us to go through it. The need is not only to go in and find faults, but also to go in and find solutions so that it doesn't reoccur. And so, yes, Parliament is called upon as the lead arm of government to oversee that thing, investigate or inquire into it, and come out with recommendations, which I believe, after is deliberated upon by the House, could help the VRA and other stakeholders to prevent future occurrences, and also to proceed to provide sufficient relief to those affected, because so many sacrifices have been made for the national interest. We should show some gratitude to those people who have sacrificed. Since the construction of the dam, so many people have sacrificed so much for the state, but they've not been properly recognized. There's been a lot of research work on this matter, and the papers are available for all of you to read. So I insist that people should cooperate for us to establish a committee to look into the matter. The issue of the National Cathedral is something too we should take up. I'm not aware of submission of names because I didn't preside that day. I'm not aware of that. No names have been submitted to me to establish any committee. I don't know where the names went. And so it's something that you've drawn our attention to. And if we are to set the committee, we'll have to go back to look at the directive of the chair, the committee, the number, and then what he said as to what number from each side of the house, and whether we are taking some technical experts from outside to support the committee. We have to look at all that and let the committee work. As for the agenda 111, I don't know what amounts you put on the hospitals, but the last time I heard of 15 million for a district hospital. As a former Minister of Health, I know we just don't look at structure and then label a place district hospital. There are so many things you look at. You look at the personnel, you look at the equipment, you look at the quality and the type of services that is rendered, not just the infrastructure. And so members, particularly the Committee on Health, will have to take this matter up. But please, the response of the majority leader on the current situation concerning the unfortunate incident that led to the death of the patient is so heart-wrenching. In fact, when I read and then also viewed on TV what happened, I got so sad that as a country we have gone that low. It should not happen. But these are allegations. And so what we have to do first is to await the investigation by the appropriate authorities. And then, if we feel that justice has not been done, we will exercise our oversight responsibility and take it on. So the majority leader is right in saying that let's wait until we get a report from the appropriate ministry, and then we can take the necessary action. That is the way to go. With this, I want to urge members to let us adopt the report, and as we go along, we expect, if there is a need, a supplementary report from the committee. But the mid-year review is also captured in the agenda, and the timing is an indication as to when it will be ready. So it will be coming before the House. With this, I put the question. Those in favor of the adoption of the report? Yes, oh, you want to say something? Sorry.
Mr. Speaker, we're always guided by your better understanding of the rules. Speaker,
because of the quantum of the issues raised.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I thought this is one of the report that you don't need to put a question. But Mr. Speaker,
usually we don't put the question.
Mr. Speaker, if you are suspending the rules, that's fine. Mr. Speaker, if you are suspending.
No, I am not.
Okay.
I just want an indication from the House. Honorable Majority Leader, what did you say?
Mr. Speaker, I said if you are not suspending, then you may gavel to adopt, to declare the adoption.
No, I just said I wanted an indication from the House because of the number of issues raised, so that we can adopt this and then we move on. During the course of the week, you could submit a supplementary report. Am I right? Honorable members, the report is accordingly adopted. We move to item 7, and we have some statements, 2 statements, one from each side of the House. If we can do that quickly, and then we'll go to public business. Yes, please.
Speaker, with your leave, we wish to vary order of business and rather go on to public business and lay some papers, after which we revert to item 7.
Honorable members, with your indulgence, my leave is being sought to vary the order of business. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think we have any objection to the varying of the order. But I just realized one of the addendum order papers, and I see the Minister of Education here, and he's here to lay a bill on the National Service Authority. So I was very curious, because really the majority leader in the last 2 days has been drumming up that the priority of the Minister of Education is free senior high school bill. It seems to be a disconnect. If that is a priority, the minister, I'm surprised. Were you trying to lay the free senior high school bill? Is this a mistake?
Do you want to respond?
No, Mr. Speaker. I'm
Yes,
not
okay.
responding
You can
to
go on.
I won't respond to it. I'm basically saying that the records have it that the free SHS bill, will come next week. The records have it as such.
Yes. Honorable members, I grant the leave for us to vary the order of business and then take a number of papers. And so at the commencement of public business, item 8, presentation of papers. The following papers to be presented.
Speaker.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Item 8, they are not ready yet, so we are rather moving on to page 12.
They brought
page 12.
Other people addendum.
Not yet.
They gave me some copies. You are not yet ready. You are not.
The one you mentioned is not ready yet, so we are rather moving on same order paper. Item 9 on page 12. Yes, item 9 on page 12 first, and then we'll move on to the order paper addendum. Speaker, let me further seek your leave for it to be done by the Minister for Education.
The regulation, the road traffic regulation.
This one?
Yes, this one.
Honorable members, page 12, item 9, presentation of instruments, Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2024, Minister for Transport.
Speaker, may I recall?
Sorry. Yes, Honorable Dominic Ayine.
Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. After the pre-laying, a number of issues came up, and I indicated to the Deputy Minister that we want to see to it that those changes are effected before the laying takes place. So, Mr. Speaker, that hasn't yet been done. I was going to contact him, and if he lays it now, Mr. Speaker, you know the law is that we cannot change anything in it.
So, I'm not afraid.
So, have you?
The respected subsidiary legislation chair I know they are going to engage. Himself and the deputy minister will engage. But in the meantime, shall we then move on to order paper addendum? Speaker, with your leave, we then move on to order paper addendum and take item A.
Honorable Majority Chief Whip, you are right legally that the business is not before the House, and therefore encouraging the chairman of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee to engage with the minister, you are right. But the experience has shown and experience is the best teacher, that we have done some before and took it for granted that those consultations have yielded the desired results, and have reported on some instruments earlier on, and later on discovered that the concerns were not captured. That is where I want to emphasize that the committee, led by the chairman, in engaging the minister, should make sure that there is some consensus on those issues, and those are well captured. And then the House would then, by the constitutional provision, process them, so that we are not caught unawares again when the public start raising issues on those matters. You all recall recently what happened with the fees and charges miscellaneous instruments. So that is why I just want to draw your attention to it. But we proceed now to allow him to lay it, and it now becomes part of our business. It's before the House, and the House can now consider it properly. It's usually very difficult to get the percentage that is required by the Constitution to annul an instrument. That's why we have the challenge. So the Minister for Roads, Minister for Transport is called upon to lay that instrument. Yes, please.
Honourable Speaker, they were consulting and we wanted to wait for them to come. And so, please, let the Majesty, please, let's engage him.
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, yes, you are very right. Normally, these things are referred to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. But as you rightly said, by practice, we've noticed that sometimes when things, this is a road traffic amendment regulation, it may not directly be a road and transport issue. So normally what you used to do is that you refer it rightly to the committee and encourage the committee to get at least the leadership of the Road and Transport Committee involved. Maybe this should become a template so that we are all on the same page. I'm just told by the chairman of the committee that the concerns they raised have been addressed, so we can lay. We just hope that it doesn't become another controversy that, oh, we've laid it and public says who did it, we don't know about it. So, Mr. Speaker, once the chairman has confirmed that it's been addressed, we have no objection to it. We can lay it.
Yes, Chairman.
Right, Honourable Speaker, usually the procedure is that when the changes have been suggested by the committee and they are effected by the drafting division of the Attorney General's Department, then the minister writes to the committee, notifying the committee of the changes that have been made to the instrument, and that the instrument has been finalized for laying, and then we vet it. The leadership of the committee will vet it before we approve it for laying. The Honourable Minister defaulted in writing back to us, and that is how come that I wasn't aware that it has been affected. But he and his staff, they have shown me the provisions that we asked should be inserted. So, Mr. Speaker, it can be late. Thank you very much.
Let me be clear on this. All what you stated are informal consultations. There's a wrong perception and wrong understanding of the procedure and legal effect of many of these things. Parliament passes laws. In passing the law, we delegate authority to some bodies. One, executive. And so they issue executive instruments and they don't come back to the House. One, legislative. And the way we delegate that to the authorities, they are compelled to come back to the House. But at the end of the day, the responsibility is on the body that you delegate the authority to. But they see whole as responsible. Because Article 11 is very clear. But the percentage you need in the House to disagree with the person you delegated the authority to is so high that you can't get it on many occasions. We got it only on one occasion when I was the chairman of the Saturday Legislation Committee and managed to convince the House using a legal reason to annul an instrument. It's not easy to get an instrument annulled. And that is why that informal procedure has been ironed out. Unfortunately, the people who delegate the authority to don't seem to be agreeing with us. That's why even when you draw their attention to some defects or errors, they don't come back getting your approval before they come to lay. And we got that recently, I think, with one of the energy sector regulations, which later on stalled. It was relayed by Honorable K.T. Hammond. You recall that, not at the last meeting. So what the chairman is saying is that now there seems to be agreement between the committee and the ministry. And so we should allow the minister to present the instrument. Is that exactly? So please, we allow the minister to do so, and then now becomes the property of the House, then we can delve into it. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think on the concern that the chairman of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee raised were addressed. And the procedure, as we thought, was that we would have written to Attorney General's Department, but they insisted that they hear directly from the committee. The committee wrote to the AG, signed by the chair, and we were of the view that having, been done, the chairman would have been more or less settled as far as those issues are concerned. So the ministry is aware, but we were thinking maybe that AG has written to them. But the issues have all been, comprehensively addressed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Mutala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on Order 64.
Order what?
64. That we do not have the.
Okay, we take note of Order 64.
We do not have the.
I've taken note of it. I know the contents, and I know the procedure.
I wish you direct the bell is rung. But that's what the standing orders say. And I'm happy you have taken note. So if you could ask them to ring the bell. So
yes, the writing will be done.
Mr. Speaker.
Don't detail it for me. I know it.
Okay. So, Mr. Speaker, it's 1 minute.
You have my word.
1 minute past 2.
Yes. So please, can you present the instrument? Table office, can you do the writing? Let the bell be rung for 10 minutes.
Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2024.
Honorable members, the Road Traffic Amendment Regulation 2024 is accordingly laid and referred to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee for consideration and report to the House. The Committee on Transport could support the Committee of Subsidiary Legislation with whatever material they have in order to enrich the report that will be submitted to the House. Yes, please.
Speaker, order paper addendum item A.
Honorable members, we now move on to the order paper addendum, which is just a one-page addendum. Item A, presentation and first reading of bills, National Service Authority Bill 2024, Minister for Education.
An act to establish a National Service Authority to mobilize and post persons qualified to undertake national service in areas of national priority for national development, inculcates the values of civic responsibility, discipline, patriotism, national cohesion, and volunteerism in persons qualified to undertake national service, and promotes employability, entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation among persons qualified to undertake national service, and provide for related matters.
Honorable members, the National Service Authority Bill 2024 has been duly presented and read for the first time and referred to the Committee on Education for consideration and report to the House. Yes. Majority Chief Whip.
May I come under Order 173 and withdraw item B, which was laid on 31st October 2023. Reason being that, Speaker, there has been significant amendment to this document and becomes necessary that it's withdrawn.
Honorable members, by our standing orders, Order 173, a sponsor of business, whether it's a bill or motion or whatever, can come before the House to withdraw it. But once it's before us, it's with the leave of the House. And this is a very, very important bill. The Affirmative Action Gender Equality Bill. And you know how passionate many of us are about that bill. What came was quite inadequate. A lot of work has gone on it, and then there are so many proposed amendments, and we want it to be withdrawn and those amendments incorporated. My fear, Majority Chief Whip, you may listen. My fear is that usually when we refer these proposed amendments to the sponsors, they take a long time to get them incorporated, and there's usually a delay. And you know, I've been insisting that we have to pass this bill on time because it's one of the weakest points in our democratic development. The gender is so imbalanced in the governance and leadership of our country. I don't know whether you've taken that into consideration to get the ministry, the sponsoring ministry, to act expeditiously to incorporate all the proposed amendments and resubmit the bill for our consideration. Because we can't miss this meeting. We can't leave here without passing this bill. It will be unacceptable. Please, can you respond to that?
Speaker, as you may recall, you had counsel on the fact that we have to work expeditiously to ensure we get these bills which have been on the shelves for a long time past. So I personally took interest in it and I followed up. For the past 3 days, I followed up and I can confirm for the records that there were amendments that were ferried from the outfit of the AG, and the committee leadership has met on it. The appropriating has been done. So we are on all fours. We are good to land. And Speaker, I'll give you my word. Thankfully, the deputy majority leader, is the one leading this bill, and I've also spoken extensively with her. And I think we are good this time to go. And once we successfully withdraw it, it will be relayed, and then actively work can begin on it. Speaker, I share in your sentiment, and we will not compromise on anything to ensure the successful passage of this piece of legislation.
Honorable members, let me make this clear. The Attorney General is also the Minister of Justice. The Attorney General, as Attorney General, represents the state and advises the state. Now, there is authority to the effect that the Attorney General does not necessarily need to be representing Parliament in all legal matters. And so be cautious as to what you refer back to the Attorney General to advise us on. We are not bound on all matters to accept the advice of the Attorney General. That is why we proceeded to engage counsel for Parliament itself. But there are a number of issues that we disagree with the position taken by the Attorney General. And we are entitled by law, like the judiciary is entitled by law to engage their counsel. Parliament is also entitled to engage a counsel to represent the interests of Parliament, particularly when we disagree with the position taken by the Attorney General. So please, it's not all matters you refer back to the Attorney General. And we know the Attorney General Department is sparsely populated by technical people. And there's heavy load of work on them. Unless we push and we shove and we put pressure, our matters might not be of priority until maybe the executive also supports us in this matter. I think we agree that on this subject matter of gender, both the executive and the legislature are together. And I want us to follow up this matter and get it done, as I said, as quickly as possible for the consideration of the House. With this, I agree with you for it to be withdrawn, and then we anticipate that it will be brought back as soon as possible to be relayed. So please, you can proceed to do that.
Speaker, shall we then proceed to take item B on order paper addendum? Speaker, with your leave, it will be done by the Minister of Education. Item B on order paper addendum.
Leave granted. Yes.
Honourable Speaker, I rise on order 1592.
1592.
1592,
Yes.
And I do so because we are talking about a bill that has been here, and because of all these amendments, we are relaying it. Ordinarily, I wouldn't oppose this. But, Honourable Speaker, as you have already alluded to, this is a very important bill. There has been a lot of changes, and as a result, we are back here. At a minimum, if the minister is not here, the deputy minister of that sector should be here, so that we are very sure that we are being. So that's my concern. Let the speaker rule on it. I'm very concerned about it.
Well, the earlier one has now been withdrawn. A new one is being relayed. And the issue is raising is whether the new one is really ready and available for members. We don't know whether another person, apart from the minister, is the proper authority to give us assurance on this. Yes, but the majority chief whip is here.
Speaker, my colleagues know that I have related well with them on all matters. There is no single matter that I have not made a full disclosure to you. So, on this occasion, Speaker, the minister is out of jurisdiction. The deputy minister is indisposed. Okay? However, Speaker, before I came on this House floor, I related well. It's just unfortunate the table office cannot speak into the microphone. Everybody will bear me witness that I did all the checks, the necessary checks, to be sure things are done properly before I came on the House floor. So it's about reputation. I won't put my reputation on the line if I have not done the needful. And particularly, Speaker, I took interest in this bill when we related at conclave. I saw the passion with which you spoke. And Speaker, you know I have a great deal of respect for you. When you spoke like that, I carried it and I said, look, I have to do what I have to do. And my good friend,
well, we are doing it on your honor.
Yes, we are.
Yes, so let's take it that on your honor.
Yes.
It is ready.
More. Yes, it is.
And we will say that it will be made available to members during the course of next week. Is that the case? Next week?
So, yes,
okay.
It's the case.
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have any problem with that. The point my colleague was raising is that we have a minister and 2 deputies. And it is difficult to understand how important this bill is to government when the minister or 2 deputies cannot be made to come and lay it. Mr. Speaker, one condition of laying something in this House is to say that sufficient copies are also available. As long as you are sure that as soon as Mr. Speaker directs that it be laid, members will get copies here. Because I want to read a portion of the bill today. As long as you are sure that you have copies here, we can allow you to lay it. So we wait for the copy, lay it and give us copies right now before we go. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dafiamapo.
Speaker, thank you very much. Speaker, may I refer the House to Order 59, Rule 3 of our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, let me remind the majority whip that is to the effect that a bill shall be presented in the House when sufficient copies of the bill has been received in the office of the clerk for distribution to members. Mr. Speaker, as we go through this, there's no evidence that the clerk to Parliament's office has received sufficient copies for distribution in compliance with Order 59, Rule 3. And so that they should do the needful, they should put their house in order and come back next week when they have sufficient copies to do so. I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Well, it's a very good request. It's only it didn't come timely. But we are aware of the order. And that is why I was insisting that on his honor, we accept and make sure that the copies are made available during the course of next week. It's a matter that I myself want to see expeditiously dealt with. So I'll also be following up. In fact, I spoke to him this morning about this bill, this morning. And yesterday, I did the same by looking for the chair of the committee. And the ranking member is always in touch with me on this matter. So on his honor, we'll take it. Next week, we'll see the copies and the members will take it up. It's something we've already gone through to make sure that your concerns are captured so we can pass this bill as soon as possible. Please kindly take note and pass on the information to the minister concerned. So, honorable members, the Affirmative Action Gender Equality Bill 2024 has been laid, presented to the House, read for the first time.
With all respect, it's yet to be laid.
Oh, he hasn't done that.
As you guys sought your leave for it without
Yes,
modification.
okay. Well, he stood up earlier on, so I thought it was late.
An act to provide for affirmative action for gender equality in the public and private sectors and for related purposes.
Honorable members, the Affirmative Action Gender Equality Bill 2024 is accordingly laid and read for the first time and referred to the Committee on Gender, Social Welfare, and what? There are three. The nomenclature of the committee has changed. It's now Gender, Children, and Social Welfare for consideration and report to the House. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, on item numbered A on the order paper, that is a National Service Authority Bill.
Yes, addendum,
Speaker,
yes.
a little verification revealed a constitutional infraction. Mr. Speaker, Article 106, 2A states that no bill other than such a bill as is referred to in paragraph A of Article 108 of this Constitution shall be introduced in Parliament unless it has been published in the Gazette at least 14 days before the date of the introduction in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, that is exactly what our Standing Order 1591 is also saying, that subject to the Constitution and except as provided for in Order 160 and 162, a bill shall not be introduced in the House unless the bill has been published in the Gazette at least 14 days before the date of the introduction of the bill. Mr. Speaker, clearly the National Service Authority Bill has not been gazetted 14 days prior to its introduction today. So, Mr. Speaker, clearly there is a constitutional infraction. If it is the case that they intend to introduce the bill under a certificate of urgency, then they should say so, and then the minister responsible will accordingly request that the bill be taken under a certificate of urgency. And Mr. Speaker, in referring the bill to the committee, Mr. Speaker will also request the committee to consider whether the bill is of urgent nature or not. And Mr. Speaker, as a House of Record, I think I should draw the attention of the House to this constitutional infraction. Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, let me commend our colleague. I think he's right. And it was actually an oversight. It was actually an oversight. It's the intention, the real intention is for the bill to be taken under a certificate of urgency. So we will duly employ the minister to say so for the records, and the Speaker will do the consequential referral.
Honourable Member, thanks for drawing our attention, because this information is unknown to me. So I won't know until you drew my attention to it. So, Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, it was an oversight, and I will plead with you to consider the bill under the certificate of urgency. Thank you, sir.
Honourable members, the first thing the committee will have to determine is whether the bill is of urgent nature. And so I refer that to the committee to let the House know whether the bill is of urgent nature before we can proceed from there. It's so referred. Yes, minimal business.
So, shall we, as you had already admitted, two statements, and you announced it, I think we vary orders. So
Well,
shall we now take the statement, Speaker?
First Deputy Speaker to take the chair. My brother, First Deputy Speaker, please kindly take the chair. Honourable members, we move on now to statements. Statements. We have two statements. One stands in the name of Honorable Alassane Kobina Gansa, MP for Asikuma Adobing Brakwa. And this is to mark World Day to combat desertification and drought. And the other is from the Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, MP for North Tongue, and it's on urgent action needed to address government's failure to honor some scholarship obligations. Yes, so the MP for Asikuma Adobing Brakwa, may you present your statement? Yes, please.
If you may indulge me, there was another statement which stands in the name of Honorable Akwesiakwa, and I am reliably informed that the First Deputy has copied, so if it could be added.
Members, we are told there are 3, not 2. So let's start from the first one. Yes, Honorable Member for Asikuma Adobing Brakwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this statement on World Day to combat desertification and drought, celebrated by many nations across the globe. The United Nations General Assembly declared 17th June to be World Day to combat desertification and drought by its resolution A/RES/49/115, adopted in December 1994. Mr. Speaker, the theme for this year's celebration is United for Land, Our Legacy, Our Future. This seeks to mobilize all parts of society in support of sustainable land stewardship and contribute to the advancement of several other sustainable development goals. Mr. Speaker, desertification and drought are issues of global interest because they affect all regions of the world, and therefore a need to join hands with the international community to address them, particularly in Africa. Globally, about 5.2 billion hectares constituting 39.7% of the total 13 billion hectares terrestrial area of the Earth is under threat of desertification, and about 46% of the total area of Africa is affected by the same. Dryland ecosystems, which cover over 1/3 of the world's land area, are extremely vulnerable to over-exploitation and inappropriate land use. Mr. Speaker, let me reiterate that desertification is the degradation of land in arid, semi-arid, and dry subhumid areas, caused primarily by human activities and climatic variations. The daily decisions we make on what to buy, eat, drink, wear, and how to travel all impact land resources. Droughts are among the greatest threats to sustainable development, especially in developing countries, but increasingly so in developed nations too. Forecasts estimate that by 2050, droughts may affect over 3/4 of the world's population. Mr. Speaker, as we all know, it is important to put all mechanisms at the forefront of global efforts to restore land to health and boost drought resilience. This will help in land restoration to reduce poverty, hunger, and malnutrition. Mr. Speaker, according to the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, 1/3 of the world's land surface is threatened by desertification, and it affects the livelihood of millions of people who depend on the benefits of ecosystems that dry lands provide. Mr. Speaker, there are many causes of this global issue, which include overgrazing, deforestation, farming practices,
excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides, overdrafting of groundwater, urbanization and other types of land development, climate change, stripping the land of resources, natural disasters, soil pollution, overpopulation, and excessive consumption, mining, and many more. Mr. Speaker, desertification and drought effects can be devastating to humans, animals, and plants. Some of these effects are farming becomes next to impossible, decrease in crop yields, hunger, flooding, poor water quality, overpopulation, poverty, endangerment and extinction of species, destruction of habitats for many animals and plants, migration due to the destruction of the livelihood of farmers. Mr. Speaker, let me propose solutions to the problem of desertification that can be considered by policymakers. Policy changes related to how people can farm, policy changes to other types of land use, education, technology advances, restricting mining practices, putting together rehabilitation efforts to lands that have been put into desertification, reforestation, sustainable practices to prevent desertification from happening. Right, Honorable Speaker, Ghana's percentage of total land area prone to desertification is 35%, about 83,489 square kilometers, with the upper east and eastern part of the northern region 78,718 square kilometers, or 33% of the total land area of the country. According to the report of EPA in 2003, the recent assessment indicates that the land area prone to desertification has almost doubled. Governments can promote policies and enforce laws to curb practices that end up in desertification, discrimination against women, and secure their rights to land and resources. Right, Honorable Speaker, our statutory agencies and bodies such as the Forestry Commission and Environmental Protection Agency, through the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, and Ministry of Land and Natural Resources, respectively, should be improved to enhance the effective delivery of their mandate to the country and humanity. Ghana needs to be active in working to address the desertification and drought issues, particularly in the northern regions where desertification is most prevalent. The Ghana Environmental Management Project, the Sustainable Land and Water Management Project, and the Adaptation Fund Project have made significant strides in restoring degraded landscapes and promoting sustainable land management practices. These initiatives have provided critical support to farmers, protected arable land, and enhanced ecosystem services. Mr. Speaker, Ghana must be committed to the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration and continue, that's 2021 to 2030, and continue to prioritize sustainable development and environmental conservation. We urge all stakeholders, including governments, private sector organizations, and individuals, to intensify efforts in restoring degraded landscapes and building environmental resilience. Let us work together to create a greener, safer, and better future for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
No members. Yes. Yes. Raja.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. for the opportunity to contribute to this very important statement made by my colleague, the Honorable Member for Isikuma Odobin, Brakwa constituency, to mark World Day to combat desertification and drought. Mr. Speaker, this statement, after I read through it, really touched a nerve in me. And I say so because only last week, monitoring international media, the European Union Copernicus Climate Change Service announced, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, that the world has now marked 1 full year of back-to-back monthly heat records. I further quote, Mr. Speaker, that the last month, May, was the hottest May in recorded history, the 12th consecutive month in which the monthly high temperature record was broken. Mr. Speaker, this statement, watching the news and listening to this statement, got me very worried. And that was when I started to understand or appreciate everything that had been going on. Honestly, we had all experienced the heat wave, but we didn't really understand. I didn't understand what was going on until I heard this report. And I said, so we didn't see chilly nights during the Harmattan period. We didn't see cloudy periods that usually will precede rainfall, or even after a normal rainfall, it takes a while for the temperature to even pick up again. But these days, as soon as the rain is over, one starts sweating. So throughout the year, Mr. Speaker, we experienced heat waves. And clearly this has implications for vegetation, it has implications for animal husbandry, it has implications for our own health and livelihoods. But we cannot also discuss the current situation in a vacuum, as most of the activities that is leading to the current destruction of our forests that serves as a cover is human-centered. Our own activities is what is leading us to where we are now. I traveled to the Upper West region last month, and on our way back, I observed between Iwa and Sola, to the left of the road, that's driving from Wa to Sola, and I remarked in the vehicle, I said, at least the people here seem to be making some effort with reforestation, because you could clearly see the green, the trees coming up, and clearly there was some conscious effort to put back trees where trees had been taken. And of course, I made a remark and made comparisons to other places in this country. So how I will urge that policy makers, leaders, and indeed, as members of parliament, we need to champion this effort to make sure that we put back in our communities what we take out. If everybody plants another tree for any tree felled, then we know that we will be maintaining the environment for our own good. Mr. Speaker, the issue about the heat is very worrying, because whereas in cold weather, one can wear warm clothing to protect oneself from the cold, sometimes there isn't much that one can do when the heat becomes unbearable. And it affects even our concentration, it affects our effort to do what we ordinarily will do without much effort. And so it behoves on all of us. It's a duty, and I want to commend the maker of the statement once again for drawing our attention, that we should never think that planting one tree is just one tree. If each of us planted a tree, there will be 275 trees in every constituency every day. And we can do the multiplying effect of that. So this is a challenge to my colleague, members of parliament. Let's take up the task. Let's lead the way. Beyond making the statements, let's hit the ground and make sure that we undertake activities and actions that will forestall the rate at which we are experiencing desertification. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement, which is very important. United for land, our legacy, our future. Mr. Speaker, land has a variety of competing demands. As a matter of fact, the extent of livelihood, wealth creation, food and nutritional security largely depends on land. And therefore, the usage of land and then preservation of land and ensuring that we have forest cover is really a challenge. And how to sustainably manage land such that livelihood will not be curtailed, food and nutritional security will not be curtailed, wealth creation will not be curtailed, employment will not be curtailed. So to speak, agriculture will not be curtailed. It's a huge challenge, but very critical and demanding that we really have to put ourselves together and ensure that we do it. So I'm so impressed about the team that we have to unite and come together to ensure that we achieve that. But Mr. Speaker, there are certain areas that naturally we should have allowed the vegetation to grow there. Our forests and our hills. In fact, look at the Kwabron Mountain, the range that is coming into Greater Accra. Mr. Speaker, naturally we should have allowed the vegetation to grow, because these are areas that at least we could avoid urbanization or building of structures at those areas. Now, if we are sacrificing those areas, then lands that are meant for agriculture itself becomes a challenge. And I think that whatever is left in terms of the hills and the mountains, if we can come together as a country and preserve those ones and allow the vegetation to grow there, then we will be doing good for this country. Mr. Speaker, as a result of even inavailability and as a result of the sort of agriculture that we do, and as a result of the land tenure system that we apply, a lot of our agricultural lands now will continue to need fertilization. And Mr. Speaker, to speak the truth, the over-fertilization and the surface water that runs through into the sea has also increased the acidification of the sea and also increased acidification of our soil. So what we do then, what we have to do is to ensure that at least we can identify landmarks, land maps somewhere, bank land for agriculture, and ensure that agriculture production takes place there. And then there are areas that we should reserve for afforestation. In fact, what we've even reserved for afforestation already, we are not able to ensure that the deforestation rate comes down. Government is doing its best, planting trees and making sure that we reforestate our land. The only challenge in there is to what extent do we care for those trees that we've planted. And I believe that the caring aspect after the planting should be strategized such that we can reduce this desertification and ensure that land is adequately available for agriculture and also for forest cover. And with the mix of this climate change where climate smartness is becoming the way of life in all sectors of our way of doing things, we will have to think through well and ensure that for the future's sake and for today's sake, we do whatever we can to sustainably manage our land and other natural resources and stop whatever we have to do, we're doing wrong, and ensure that we do the right thing. I thank you for the opportunity, and I thank the maker of the statement as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Dr. Mafu. Let me hear you. And
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to commend the maker of the statement in bringing forth an important subject to our attention, and especially when it's an issue that, if left unmanaged, will continue to affect the quality of our ecosystem, given that 1/3 of the country is under the threat of desertification. Mr. Speaker, we all know the impact that desertification will have on the livelihoods of our people, on the ecological integrity of our land and ecosystems, and in general on food security. And that is why it is important that even as we talk about land desertification, we should also remind ourselves of the need to continue to advocate for financial resources, global green financial resources, to flow into the area of adaptation. Mr. Speaker, as we speak today, a lot of the money that is coming into the area of environment is going into mitigation. And the global effort is that we must at least push to get 50% of the money into adaptation, because if we don't have enough money for adaptation, what it means is that communities that will be affected by desertification will not have the resources to be able to implement livelihood strategies that will enable them to be able to cope with the threats of desertification. Farmers will continue to suffer. Our irrigation systems will not be there to support farming, and therefore food security will be affected, and so on and so forth. Mr. Speaker, the other thing I want to say is that as a country, we have developed the National Adaptation Plan, which is to be implemented across the country. And we as members of parliament will have a role to play. And perhaps we should add the oversight of the implementation of the adaptation plans as part of the activities that we do in our constituencies. So if we visit our district assemblies, we should be able to ask them, how have you adopted the National Adaptation Plan to suit your local circumstance, and how are you implementing? What budget allocations have been made, or what plans have been made to implement the national adaptation plans for those communities? I'm sure if we add our voice to it and we participate in the implementation of the national adaptation plans, we will be able to assist our local communities to develop the strategies to deal with that. Mr. Speaker, the last thing I want to say is about the Global Land Initiative, which has enormous resources supporting even legislators to develop their own capacity in land restoration and oversight. And I will urge members to pay attention to that and maybe go to the website of the GLI. There are a lot of advertised capacity building programs for legislators, for land managers, and so on, that we can take advantage of and build our knowledge in land restoration, so that we will be able to provide effective oversight in these areas. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister for Parliamentary Affairs.
Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to add my voice to the threat of desertification in the country and how to stop it. Mr. Speaker, various factors contribute to the rather unfortunate advancement of the Sahel down south. First, we may have to do serious introspection on our own agricultural practices. Still in the 21st century, the common practice of farming is slash and burn. So many years after independence, when we thought that we should be improving our agricultural practices, we are still stuck with slash and burn. So, year in, year out, green forest, land that has been reclaimed by fallowing, the vegetation is destroyed, burnt, to deplete the mineral content even in the soil before we do the planting. All too soon, the land gets depleted. The Speaker, wild bushfires, we've not found any solution to this. In the dry season, especially the months leading to December, November, October, November, December, January, February, for 3 months, deliberately, people set fires to our bushes, our forests, and entire forest belts are raised down. Initially, it was said when the practice started from the north that it is the cattle herders who wanted to have green grass. And so it was in the northern regions that we're having this practice. Today, they've migrated down south, and enormous forest cover is depleted. Mr. Speaker, close to this, we used to have forest reserves in the country. Deliberately, we have allowed indiscipline to take over the management of our forest reserves. Mr. Speaker, I traveled by road last week from Accra to Kumasi. And as you do know, just after Nkoko, specifically after Dadieso, on your left-hand side used to be a forest reserve. Mr. Speaker, unknown to us, the reserve existed just at the fringe of the road. Behind it, the trees there had been felled. So last week when I was going, I saw that I think the forestry department was giving out the parcels of land for recultivation. Massive land. Massive land.
When you finish, I'll share my experience on that link, what happened to me because of felling. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, so we're on the same wavelength. Mr. Speaker, we are deliberately depleting our forest cover. And we all do know, and we have been citing this, that at the turn of the 20th century, the vegetative cover of this country was about 8.5 million hectares. At the turn of the 21st century, it had climbed down from 8.5 million hectares to about 4.2. Now, between then and now, 20 years, the forest cover now is less than 700,000 hectares. How do we mitigate the effect of the what is happening? The Speaker, I must say that the minister responsible for lands and forestry has started this good program of graining or regraining Ghana. And this year, last week, the information trickling in is that they overreached themselves in what effort that has gone into reforestation. Mr. Speaker, but we should know that the past 100 years, the timber that has been harvested in the country is over 400 million. 400 million logs that we have harvested. Now, the effort by the minister is extremely good, and the minister must be commended for what he started. However, I mean, when he started, it was with 2 million, increased to 5 million, and I'm told what was done is close to 10 million this year. Very commendable. But if we don't stop the harvesting of what is remaining, the minister's efforts really would take a lot of doing to get to somewhere. Because even if we are planting 10 million, and we are able to maintain, nurture it to its fullest extent, 10 million, and you have harvested over 400 million, it will take you 40 years, assuming we hold back the harvesting of timber to replenish what we have lost. Mr. Speaker, so that is something. Today, the mills, Kumasi used to be the center of sawmilling in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, how many of the mills are now operating? Those days, we had so many of the mills. Today, the 3 or 4 serious mills that are all operating below 30% capacity. And it was because when we converted from the export of round logs to milled logs for export and for local use, the machines that were brought were so inefficient that when a tree got felled, the recovery was just between 22 and 23%. So over 75-76% of the tree that was harvested, was felled, was lost. It's only this mill at Mim that was owned by our former colleague, the past father, Scanstyle. It was only Scanstyle that was able to recover about 32-33%. 32-33%. So even with them, close to 70% of any felled timber was lost. So, Mr. Speaker, the fault certainly is not in our stars. Carlos. The fault certainly is not in our stars. The Speaker, rapid population growth and the fact that lands in the center of our cities have become very expensive. And so what used to be farmlands are also being taken over by people, real estate people, and also because the land in the center of the cities are so expensive, you have to go to, in Accra, you have to go to Kaswa to get lands that perhaps will sell reasonably to you. And so farmlands are also being taken over. And yet we are talking about food security. Mr. Speaker, as I said, the new Land Act is something that will bring some relief. The Land Act that the current minister is superintending over. We need to encourage the minister to ensure appropriate land use systems in the country. I cite this example again of we traveling from Tamale to Boga. and beyond Boria to Paga, the border town. Mr. Speaker, moving from Tamale through Boga to Paga, so many streams, the roads traverse so many streams and rivers, but there's none of them that is banked at one side or the other to collect the impounded water for irrigation purposes. And once you cross the border at Paga, from Paga to Ouagadougou, any stream or streamlet that the road crosses is dammed on one side or the other of the road, and they use the impounded water for irrigation. So the southern portion of Burkina Faso, which is drier than our northern section, is greener than our northern territories. Why? And it's the reason why we have to travel to Burkina Faso to buy tomatoes. It's the reason why we have to go to Burkina Faso and Mali to buy onions, which thrive on riverbanks. We are not able to do that, and also on irrigated lands. We are not able to do that. So, Mr. Speaker, we really need to do serious introspection to arrest the downward trend of the Sahel, and really join ranks with the minister responsible for lands and natural resources in his effort to regreen the country. Speaker, the other day I was having a conversation with him, and I said, much as I appreciate what he's doing, that what he's doing is unprecedented. Doing so once in a year would take a long time for him to make the significant imprint that he wants to leave this country. So perhaps, maybe he may consider engaging in that act at least twice a year. And I believe that if we're able to nurture the trees that we grow, perhaps by the time he's leaving, would have really been in a position to point to maybe a stock of about 20 million or 30 million trees that will be nurturing to assist us in weathering the weather of this country. And I must commend him for what he's been doing. Mr. Speaker, agriculture, food security. We're talking about diversifying our economy. But the base of the diversification is still agriculture. This government has introduced the 1D, 1F. It is agro-based. So if you don't protect our lands and also talk to what new matter that is coming up, the resort to Galamsey, destroying forests, destroying vegetation, destroying our water bodies. If we don't talk to ourselves to stop this, the Speaker certainly would really leave posterity, would leave poverty for posterity. We need to have everything. The Speaker, thank you for the opportunity.
Very well. I think this brings us to the end of this first statement. I said I'll share my perspective. What happened was that I was traveling from Kumasi to Accra, and just after Nkoko, I heard gunshots. I thought they were robbers. So I slowed down and got to them. They were policemen. But there was a truck ahead of me. It was traveling at about 40, 50 kilometers per hour. Anytime I tried to overtake it on the left, it would cross to the left and block me. I tried to overtake on the right, it would cross to the right and block me. So I was forced to follow it. When you got to Nadesu, it had stopped, by the way. So I stopped and got out to go and ask him, why you are behaving on the road? Then a large crowd of people pounced on me, held me by my shirt. Some attacked me, raped me. The taxi driver rushed and said, no, he's not part of them, he's not part of them. When they said, sorry, we thought you were a forestry official. The forestry officials They have deals with you to go and into the forest in the night. When they go in there, and you come back with police to come and cross them on the road. So the gunshot I saw on the road were forestry officials trying to stop that truck. But because I was following the talk, I lost some buttons in my shirt and I received some. So I'm confirming the fact that they had been logging in that area. This is 2011 or thereabout. So there's another statement. Shall we take that one? Statement by the Honorable Kujata Blakwa, MP for North Tongue. You may read your statement now.
I'm most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let's empathize with you for that rather sad.
That's many years ago. I only recall it because of the statement before.
So, Right Honourable Speaker, I'm profoundly grateful for the privilege to make this urgent statement on a matter of utmost national importance. It relates to the plight of Ghanaian students stranded abroad in an issue that has undermined the credibility of our nation's bilateral scholarship agreements with other countries and consequently tarnished Ghana's international image. Mr. Speaker, I speak of the government's failure through the Scholarship Secretariat to fulfill its fundamental mandate of providing bursaries to the country's exceptionally brilliant yet financially disadvantaged students, both within and outside the borders of our country. Right Honourable Speaker, I have been entrusted with the solemn duty to convey the desperate pleas of a multitude of Ghanaian students across the world who have reached out to me to narrate their ordeals. These young minds, brimming with potential, have found themselves mired in harrowing circumstances, a direct consequence of the government's lack of commitment to its obligations towards them. The cries of these students have echoed far beyond our borders, as evidenced by the embarrassing media report from international press outlets such as the BBC and the Hungarian Conservative. These impartial sources have shed light on the grim realities confronting our Ghanaian students, painting a sobering picture of the government's neglect of their well-being. Mr. Speaker, some of these students who have reached out have painted a bleak portrait of their desperate situations. Many have been forced to take on additional work shifts, sacrificing precious time that should be used to focus on their studies, merely to cater to their most basic needs. In Chinese institutions, for example, our students have had to rely on the kindness of their Chinese peers, as their student visas strictly prohibit them from seeking employment, further exacerbating their plight. Mr. Speaker, on the 24th of May this year, a multitude of Ghanaian students took to the streets in the Moroccan town of Rabat to voice their heart-wrenching grievances regarding the government's failure to disburse their stipends over the preceding 12-month period. Similarly, the narrative of students in Serbia mirrors this lamentable circumstance, as the allowances intended to sustain them have remained unpaid for 11 consecutive months. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, on the 4th of April 2024, the Ghana Students Association in Hungary issued a formal press statement drawing attention to the dire circumstances faced by 215 compatriots studying within the borders of Hungary. These students, it was reported, had endured the previous 6 months without the slightest measure of support from our national government. There are a dozen more instances where our students across Europe, Asia, and America have been left abandoned. Mr. Speaker, it is with grave concern that I must address the alarming deterioration of Ghana's international image over the past years. Our nation's reputation has been tarnished as we have repeatedly failed to honor our bilateral scholarship agreements with other countries. A number of Ghanaian ambassadors and high commissioners have been officially contacted by their host governments on this deplorable situation. In 2016, the government of Hungary and Ghana signed an education cooperation agreement which enabled Ghanaian students to pursue bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in fields such as agriculture, engineering, natural sciences, business, and Economics on scholarship in Hungary. Mr. Speaker, I, at the time, traveled to Budapest to negotiate and sign this bilateral agreement as the then Deputy Minister for Education in charge of tertiary education. Mr. Speaker, the Hungarian government has commendably expanded this scholarship scheme, accommodating about 100 Ghanaian students each year, a remarkable increase from the initial 50 students per year. Regrettably, Mr. Speaker, the government of Ghana has consistently failed to uphold its part of the agreement by neglecting to provide the additional stipends promised to Ghanaian students in Hungary. This egregious breach of our obligations marks of bad faith and risks a premature abrogation of the agreement if we do not swiftly take action to remedy the situation. The international community has taken note of this situation and which has undoubtedly undermined Ghana's respected image on the global stage. Mr. Speaker, we must take immediate steps to rectify this matter and demonstrate our commitment to honoring our international agreements, lest we jeopardize our standing and the educational opportunities available to our citizens. Right, Honourable Speaker, this Honourable House has diligently approved the annual budget estimates of the government, encompassing the expenditures of the Office of the Government Machinery, within which the budget of the Scholarship Secretariat is contained. It is worthy of note that between the fiscal years of 2020 and 2024, the budget allocation for the Scholarship Secretariat has witnessed a substantial increase of about 100 million Ghana cedis, rising from 200 million cedis in 2020 to 300 million cedis in 2024. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, as explicitly stated at page 114 of the 2022 budget statement and economic policy, the government reaffirmed its commitment to, quote, continue to support continuing students in Algeria, China, France, Germany, Hungary, Morocco, Russia, and Serbia under the bilateral scholarship schemes awards, and also support students under non-bilateral scholarship award schemes in Australia, Canada, China, Cuba, France, India, Morocco, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America, unquote. Regrettably, Mr. Speaker, these budgetary increases and governmental assurances have not translated into tangible improvements in the living conditions and academic experiences of our Ghanaian students abroad. Paradoxically, Mr. Speaker, even as the government made these reassurances in 2022, 2,000 Ghanaian students studying abroad on government scholarship were being threatened with official notices for the blockage of their access to lectures, libraries, and other vital learning activities by their respective educational institutions due to non-payment of tuition fees. Right, Honourable Speaker, I've observed with great admiration the fervent manner in which a number of colleagues in this House, members of civil society, and in the media who have raised the plight of our students abroad. Mr. Speaker, may I use this opportunity to commend all those who, Mr. Speaker, have solidarized with our students, including the National Union of Ghana Students, the Pan-African International Students, and other civil society organizations who have been unwavering in efforts to ensure that the government fulfills its solemn duty of caring for the well-being of our cherished students abroad. Right, Honourable Speaker, I humbly seize this moment to implore on the government to diligently fulfill its responsibilities and realign its priorities with utmost urgency. Mr. Speaker, the Registrar of the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, Mr. Kingsley Ajiman, stated on Joint News on the 3rd of June that the Ministry of Finance has released 60 million Ghana cedis for the stipends, academic user, and tuition fees of these students abroad. While this initiative is a step in the right direction, the students have still not received their stipends from latest checks. It is also imperative, Mr. Speaker, to stress that this announced release appears woefully inadequate to resolve the entire crisis. The situation is so precarious, Mr. Speaker, that some students have graduated without their stipends and therefore cannot receive their certificates as they remain stranded in foreign countries. Right Honourable Speaker, may I use this esteemed platform to impress upon all our students who find themselves in this state of profound despondency to keep hope alive and have confidence in Parliament to stand with them until this unconscionable crisis is resolved once and for all. Mr. Speaker, I therefore ardently urge the government to expedite its action and ensure that all students abroad under the government scholarship program are swiftly and adequately catered for. Their well-being and academic progress must be top priority, for they are the future leaders and pillars of our nation. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I believe it is also time for government to heed this call and demonstrate its unwavering commitment to the holistic development and support of our esteemed students abroad. Their success is inextricably linked to the prosperity and progress of our beloved country. Mr. Speaker, we also need urgent reforms in the administration, selection, transparency, financing, and sustainability of Ghana government scholarship schemes. I hope that this House will explore concrete mechanisms to help end this nightmare confronting our fellow young Ghanaians abroad. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Colleagues, shall we agree to 5 minutes maximum for contribution? Leadership, is that acceptable? 5 minutes maximum. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 minutes, because we are all going home. Mr. Speaker, let me commend the maker of the statement, the ranking member for Foreign Affairs, for drawing attention of us, including government, to the plight of our brothers and sisters who found themselves outside this country, not at their own will, but at the will of all of us to undertake studies outside this country. Mr. Speaker, most of us have seen the footages coming from the international media houses as well as social media on the social media platform. The recent one I saw happens to come from Morocco, and in fact it was an eyesore that our brothers and sisters, especially the women who found themselves outside the shores of this country, being promised by government to support them, who found themselves, not having a place to even sleep. In fact, their leader even mentioned that some of his colleagues have been sacked or removed from their homes because they could not pay their rent. I asked myself, if it were to be my daughter or my son or my brothers and sisters, what would I have done better? We are in leadership. Whether you are in parliament or you are in executive or wherever you find yourself, we are in leadership. It's a leadership crisis. Crisis that needs solution. How do we find solution to this problem? This is not only the first time, Mr. Speaker. It has been occurring over and over that these unfortunate young children will go outside this country and we cannot even pay a stipend for them to be able to pay their rent and feed themselves. Some of them, if you are not careful, will find themselves doing other things. You find young girls, going to brothels and doing things that they are not supposed to be doing. It is no fault of theirs. It is because we, the leaders of this nation, have failed them. Mr. Speaker, how long can we continue with this? If we know that we cannot take care of them, why do we have to allow them to go? Recently, I was in UK, and one of the young ladies who had scholarship to study in one of the universities, masters in UK, said that, she just got a message from Scholarship Secretariat saying that her scholarship was forged and that she's not supposed to go to the UK. And she asked me, Honorable, how come that I pass through immigration, I show everything, and I receive my first stipend, only for her to be told that, your documents were forged, and therefore return your first stipend and make sure that you return to Ghana. I mean, what is this? That Scholarship Secretariat will allow somebody to forge her papers and get to a school, and now she has been withdrawn from the school because Scholarship Secretariat has written to the school that she must withdraw. I mean, how can we continue doing this to ourselves? And as leaders, we are failing this nation. We are failing our brothers and sisters. We are failing the generations after us. And this is not good for the image of this country. Mr. Speaker, as I commend the maker of the statement, I also want to reiterate his commendation that we need an urgent reforms. Reforms not only in the administration of Scholarship Secretariat. Because when you put party apparatchiks there, they decide to do whatever they want to do. And nobody can hold them responsible. But if we have a proper laid down rules and regulations, how the leadership or the management of the Scholarship Secretariat and other government institutions are managed or are sent there, we will not have this kind of problem. And I'm sure there are other students who are enjoying because they might have some political, attachment to whatever they have. And so there must be reforms in the scholarship administration. Selection should be opened up. Even internally, Mr. Speaker, we were told that MPs were supposed to be part of the panels that will interview people. I attended one interview, and since then, nobody has called me for any interview again. And so you only hear is that, oh, the scholarship has been given to some people that you don't know. And when you check, they have one particular party colors. Can we continue like this? Is that what we are looking for in this country? That if you don't have a party color, you cannot have a scholarship? Hey, then where are we going in this country? Mr. Speaker, so there must be reform, transparency, and then we must also have a financial sustainability, so that at least when our brothers and sisters, the young ones, go outside, they will not go and prostitute themselves, they will not go and be doing other things that cannot allow them to study. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I'm done, and thank you so much.
Yes, Ranking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to identify myself with the statement made by the Honorable Member for North Tongue, Honorable Sami Okujeto Ablakwa. For some time now, he has shown consistent concern for students abroad. I got notice of that when the Ukraine-Russia war broke out, and the role he played in making Ghanaians, especially Ghanaian students in Ukraine, return home. I wish to congratulate him on that and hope that he will continue to fight for Ghanaian students who unfortunately find themselves in such difficult times. Mr. Speaker, we very much know that the Scholarship Secretariat was established in the days of President Nkrumah when Ghana got independence, and there was the need to train the needed manpower for this country. So courses that were not available in Ghanaian institutions or universities, students had to travel abroad to undergo such courses and return to Ghana to help in nation building. That was the objective of the Scholarship Secretariat. So it was under the office of the Presidency. Mr. Speaker, today, the Scholarship Secretariat is not living up to that expectation because all manners of programs are being sponsored by the Scholarship Secretariat. Programs that could be done internally or locally have been awarded for students to go to UK, US, or other European countries to do so. Some are even as short as 2 weeks courses are being sponsored. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the plight of students in this country, especially the foreign students who are now the subject of a discussion, you listen to them, you listen to their parents, they have regretted allowing their wards to travel outside the borders of this country for further studies. They were given scholarships, but what the parents are going through, Mr. Speaker, is very, very worrisome. Parents have to look for money to remit to their wards so that they could sustain themselves. Mr. Speaker, one challenge we are having is that we have splinter or a number of organizations awarding scholarships in this country. We have the Scholarship Secretariat, we have Get Fund, we have GMPC, among others.
what is important for us, Mr. Speaker, is to reform the scholarship regime as it is now and establish a Ghana Scholarship Authority so that all these various agencies that are awarding scholarships or foreign scholarships are brought under one umbrella, so that if there is one pool, then we can have a better management of the scholarship regime in this country. That is the way we have to go. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we call upon government as a matter of urgency to release money to the Scholarship Secretariat to disburse to these affected students, because they are undergoing humiliating conditions wherever they find themselves. So, Mr. Speaker, I share in the views expressed by the maker of the statement, and we hope that government is listening and the right thing will be done as quickly as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you have the last word. And then...
Speaker, may I speak in support of the statement made by our colleague? To also say that a number of issues raised which are regrettable. I think if you check a cursory assessment or analysis of the Scholarship Secretariat, is that since 1960, the Scholarship Secretariat has been under the presidency. Since 1960. Speaker, I can recall these statistics at the fingertips because I had personally done some work on the activities of the Scholarship Secretariat, especially where there are difficulties in terms of access internally. Speaker, where there are difficulties in accessing scholarship internally. So I recall I was sitting in my other world, I was sitting on the other side. Speaker, where they are sitting now? I sat there. I am not. I prefer to be here. Speaker, so when I sat there, I raised the issue. Then they were here. I recall raised the issue about scholarship access in the country and the difficulties. Not much attention was paid to it. You know, it was one of the statements that we read and then it goes to get dusty on the shelves. Then, when we came to power, I repeated the same matter. And then look at the difference. I'm not politicized, I'm just drawing a bit of difference. Then, when I read the same matter, this time, it got attention of powers that be. And as we speak, it went through all the motion. Now, if you want to assess scholarship in our country, it is done at the district level. The compilation and the listing is done at the district level. The interviews are done at the district level. And then finally, the Scholarship Secretariat approved. There's a difference. What the difference is that gone are the days when you are like, where you have to travel all the way to Scholarship Secretariat. This time, you go for an interview at the district, and then the Scholarship Secretariat awards it. So that is just an aspect of it. Now, the trust of what the maker of the statement said was that he's telling us the difficulties Ghanaians are going through who are, schooling outside the jurisdiction and they have to go through all this thing. Fundamentally, it's budget. Normally has been a question of budget and release. So, can we allow this situation to foster? No. What do we do in return? What I think we should be doing, apart from a call for early budget release, we must have a legislation. And the Scholarship Secretariat cannot be under the presidency. I am of the view that it has to be an independent institution that will award scholarship on merit. And it is amazing that from 1960, Speaker, we have allowed this institution to be under the presidency for a very, very long time. It is not the case that this unrest and worries being propagated by students outside the country is happening only in this regime. It has happened in various governments back and forth. So we may probably have to look at a piece of legislation and to grant some independence to the Scholarship Secretariat. That for me is what can put finality to this matter and probably reduce the challenge to the barest minimum. But I must commend the maker of the statement, though, and let's not leave the conversation. So I'm tempted to say that probably you may want to give some directive so that we don't leave this matter. The conversation will keep on, and then probably one of our committees can look at it in detail and come report the House floor for us to adopt a report and probably take a decision on this. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Very well. Members, I think that this is a matter which falls squarely within the business of the Education Committee. Let them speak to the agency and find out what their challenges are and report to the House. So direct. Thank you, honourable members. That brings up. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year, the Committee on Education, we invited some of these institutions or agencies that award scholarships, Get Fund, GMPC, among others. Scholarship Secretariat told us that they were not under the supervision of the Ministry of Education, and that they were under the presidency. So they had no responsibility to report to us as a Committee on Education, and the matter ended there. So, Mr. Speaker, I think your direction is good, but if maybe Parliament can direct rather to not the Education Committee on Education.
Chairman, I have directed the Committee of Education to go there and find out and report to the House.
Thank you.
Let them, if they say no, report to the House.
Okay.
Right.
Speaker, I think you are right. In conclusion, there was the last statement. I know we are all exhausted, but let me employ colleagues. We've had two statements on your side, and the Speaker had admitted one that stands in the name of the Honorable Akwesi.
Honorable Chief Whip, I don't know whether you are fully briefed. That statement was brought to my attention in the chamber. It had not even been recommended by the Chief Whip. So I asked my clerk to send it to the Chief Whip's office. Then the Chief Whip brought it back to me. So I haven't so far even gone through it. Is that not the rule that I must verify that it falls within? I have not brought it to pre-sitting for verification. I've told the Honourable Minister, Honourable Deputy Minister, that this cannot be taken today because I must follow through with the requirements. So please, leave this to me. We'll manage it next week. Thank you very much. Honourable members, it is past 3 p.m. So I don't require a motion to bring proceedings to a close. So at this juncture, the House is adjourned until Tuesday, the 18th of June, 2024 at 10 o'clock. Yes, leader.
Speaker, with respect, having regard to the time we started proceedings, I think I may have to move a motion for an adjournment.
That's what the table office is telling me. I want to be guided by the orders so that. Very well, honourable members, sitting in adjournment of the House, appears to be now regulated by the 55. And of the 55, 3 says, a sitting of the House shall ordinarily be for 5 hours. And 4, despite Rule 3, the Speaker may direct that a sitting be held outside the prescribed period, having regard to the state of business of the House. I'm told that we started at 11:50 or thereabout. So 3:30 is not up to 5 hours. So yes, I will admit a motion for adjournment.
Speaker, may I move this August House to adjourn to Tuesday, 10 o'clock at the forenoon? I so move.
Yes.
Speaker, second motion for adjournment.
Honourable members, the motion for adjournment has been moved and seconded. All in favor of the House adjourning now, say aye. All against, say no. Honourable member for Ho West, I heard you vote yes, and I heard you vote no. So your vote is annulled.
Mr. Speaker, I did not use that mic, so.
Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is carried. The House is accordingly adjourned till Tuesday, 18 June 2024 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon.